If you're looking for a great camera to create high quality YouTube vlogs with, I would probably stack these three cameras together. It's the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, the Canon V10, and I'm actually gonna stack these three cameras against using my iPhone 15 Pro so that you can decide which camera will be best for you, whether you wanna just capture what you're doing on vacation, or maybe you wanna capture an activity like you're golfing or working out, or maybe you're in business and you actually want a great camera that can capture what it is you do out on the field. We're gonna be breaking all these down in this video, so let's get it.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? It's Omar Corey with Think Media. Now, we'll be sure to post links down to everything in the description below, and I would encourage you to check out the links because you can catch a deal on one of these cameras, and Amazon warranties their used products, so there's no risk in saving some money. Somebody said amen in the comments. Now, between the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, and the Canon V10, there's a lot of things in common, and I wanna talk about those similarities, and then we'll talk about some of the differences, and I'll give you my final thoughts for the best use cases so that you make the right purchase. All three of these cameras shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second, with the exception of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 shoots 4K up to 60 frames per second, but I know most people that are vlogging, they're gonna be shooting their vlogs in 4K 30 or 4K 24. This video is actually shot at 4K 30, so that's kind of the example you're gonna be getting. They also all have 1-inch sensors, so they're gonna perform very similar in low light, and you're also gonna get very similar results in good lighting as far as the background goes with its blurriness and things like that. Shooting vertical videos with these cameras are pretty sweet because if you're shooting with the Canon or the Sony and you flip it sideways, it's gonna automatically rotate that clip. So if you send it to your phone or you drag it to your computer, it's already gonna be vertical. With the DJI, you're just gonna flip the screen vertical and then it's gonna start recording vertical video for you, which is pretty easy to use as well. And then lastly, these cameras are great for beginners. You don't have to know how to work a camera in order to get a good image out of these cameras. And a lot of this video is actually shot in auto mode, so really just straight out of the box, hit record, and it's the look that you're gonna get. Now we got their similarities out of the way, let's talk about some of their differences, and we'll start with build quality and convenience of use. The Sony ZV-1 Mark II is a compact point and shoot camera. You've probably seen this body style in the past, and what's cool is it powers on by opening up the screen, which is very convenient. And it's a flip out articulating screen. So you could see yourself. If you wanted to vlog, you would see yourself. And then what I like is that if you close it, it's also protected. So if you throw this in a bag, it's pretty good. It also comes with a wind muff for the onboard mic. So you just slide that into the cold shoe mount. And typically you would leave it like this unless you plugged in an external microphone. But the Sony ZV-1 Mark II is probably the heaviest out of all three cameras to include the smartphone, and probably the most beefiest, but could still fit in a pocket and definitely in a bag. The Canon V10, on the other hand, has a very unique style of a design. Number one is it's kind of like a vertical set camera, but there's a little 2-inch flip up screen that comes up from the top. And I actually like this too, because when you look at yourself, it still looks like you're looking into the lens. And it's kind of the closest thing to filming with a phone. But when you hold a phone this way, you're shooting vertical video. What's cool about the V10 is when you're holding the camera this way, you're shooting horizontal video, which I think is nice because we're just used to holding the phone, but only getting vertical videos. And having the record button out in the front, right where your thumb rests, is really nice as well. And what's also cool is there's a built-in stand. So if you were to just set this on something, you'd be able to set it like so. There's still a screw. So if you wanted to throw a selfie stick on this or put it on a tripod, you still could. But all that to say, just a great design. Next to the ZV-1 is kind of similar, just a little bit smaller. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is probably the most uniquely designed, being it's really just a stick that films videos. But what is cool is that they added this flip screen, or I would say tilt screen, very similar to like a Sidekick phone, if you remember those back in the early 2000s. Just simply flip the screen open and then it'll turn on the camera and you'll be ready to film. And then if you put it back in vertical mode, it gives you the opportunity to just start shooting vertical videos, which is really nice. Another cool thing about the DJI is you can flip the camera around with a push of a button on the screen and it just rotates the camera, and then you could show what you're looking at and then hit it again and then it'll point back to you. Just a cool, nice feature. Now I would say when this camera has nothing connected to it accessories wise, it is very small in hand. And I don't have the biggest hands, but you feel like you're gonna drop it. I don't feel like the DJI could take a beating And when I say take a beating, I don't mean like break it intentionally. It just feels the most delicate out of the bunch. When taking these cameras on trips and throwing them in things like bags or luggages or pockets, you just wanna be okay and make sure it could take a beating or a potential drop. And so when it comes to the build quality and convenience of use, I give that point to the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. When looking for a good vlog camera, really you want a camera that gives you a nice wide shot. And the camera that gives you the widest shot is actually the Osmo at 13 millimeters. And there's actually two focal lengths that you get with this camera, because in the creator kit, they actually give you this wide angle lens that's magnetic. And then you just put it on the camera and it gives you a wider shot. So if you want the widest shot possible, you're gonna get that from the DJI Osmo. However, with the Sony ZV-1 and the Canon V10, they're gonna give you an 18 millimeter focal length, which when all the way zoomed out with nothing else turned on, it's pretty good. It's still a decently wide shot, I would consider. But you do wanna turn on a little bit of the stabilization features in those cameras, and it's gonna crop it in just a tad. Still gonna give you a wide shot, just not as wide as the DJI. So when it comes to kind of like the wide shot, I would give that win to the DJI Osmo. Now when it comes to stabilization, I wouldn't even debate this all that much because the Osmo literally has a gimbal built into the camera itself. However, if you plan on shooting general vlogs where you're not running, you're not going up steps or things like that, the Sony and the Canon are still gonna be pretty good at stabilization, but stabilization, it has to go to the DJI Osmo. Now what's super funny is I actually asked Amanda to judge 4 of the same clips that were shot on all 4 of these cameras, to include my phone. And the camera that she actually liked the image the most on was actually the...
That's crazy. It's literally between like Sony and iPhone. Like your face looks very crispy. Like I feel like it's the best of you. But then the colors on the iPhone are fire. Like it looks vibrant. And the background is super crisp, like right out the camera on the iPhone.
I thought that was super interesting that Amanda actually loved what came out of the iPhone as well as the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. But a lot of that just has to go with kind of the colors, which many times in post could be corrected with color correction or color grading. But I know most people, I'm not gonna be talking about pro potential out of these cameras. Straight out of camera, she just liked the Sony and the iPhone. All right, let's talk about audio, as it's very important that you have at least decent audio with whatever kinds of videos that you are creating. What's cool about all 3 of these cameras is they have a built-in mic. So if you don't have any microphone hooked up to it, you're still gonna get a decent sound out of it. Now you could still plug in an external microphone into the Canon V10, but you just need a bracket, an additional aftermarket bracket so it can hold a wireless mic. On the other hand, you can just clip on a mic with the Sony ZV-1's cold shoe mount. So if you got something like the Rode Wireless or even the DJI mics, you can simply plug it in and use an external mic, or even a shotgun mic if you wanted to upgrade the mic that is just on the camera itself. But I would say DJI was very thoughtful when they packaged together their creator combo, because this entire video I've been using the mic that comes with the creator combo with the Pocket Osmo 3. And once you just turn this on, it automatically connects to the camera, which is really dope. And I've even seen some videos on the internet that you could connect this microphone via Bluetooth with your smartphone, which is pretty cool. And it all comes in the kit. And so I think getting a kit that just comes with the mic, I think more people are gonna wanna buy that. I think about people who do real estate tours, or maybe you do tutorial or behind the scenes type of content and you're not really right next to the camera or even holding the camera. Having a wireless mic is gonna be super clutch. And so the fact that DJI would include this mic in their kit, I probably would just give them the point when it comes to audio. Now let's talk price, overall value, and some of my final thoughts as I've used these cameras in many different scenarios and talk about the best use cases. Let's start with the first one being the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This camera with the creator combo comes in at $670 at the time of shooting this video here in the US or in Cabo. I'm in Cabo right now, but I'll be in the US. But I would encourage you to only buy this camera with the creator combo, because it coming all by itself, you're gonna be missing out on a lot of cool features. And so the extra $150 is totally worth it to get the wireless mic and any of the additional add-ons that they include, to include the pouch, a little tripod stand, and a couple different grips. And one of those grips is actually a battery power bank, which is pretty dope. But I would say the unboxing experience of this creator combo was awesome because of all the little things that you get in this kit. And I think it's just an incredible deal. I'll be using this literal setup to do my studio walkthroughs. Oftentimes I'll go set up people's studios and I'll do a breakdown video, and just having anybody point this at me is pretty dope. And there's actually a cool feature I didn't talk about with this DJI Osmo, and that's the face tracking feature. And if you have either somebody holding the camera or you have the camera stationary, it'll literally follow you around even though it's stationary in position. So if you wanted to just film yourself, or you wanted somebody to make sure that they're filming you even though they're not the best, camera person, it'll allow you to do that. And so when it comes to the best value of a camera, this definitely is at the top because of all that you get. And people who just want to just make that one purchase and get everything they essentially need, it happens when you buy the creator combo with the DJI. The only negative thing I have to say about this camera is just being afraid to break it, because it has to be put away in either its pouch or its case. And it's an extra step when I need to film something. So unlike the other two cameras where you can just take it out, turn it on and hit record, you got to take this out of its case, flip it on, then you can record. So that's the only thing I would say. But if you know that you're gonna film certain things with this camera, then keeping it protected is not a bad idea. The Canon V10 is the cheapest camera out of them all and retails for $420 at the time of shooting this video, but I've seen this camera go on sale for $350, brand new retail, which is an insane price point for the image you get out of this camera. And what I love overall about this camera is it's probably the easiest one to use. You can hand this camera to a child and they would film really fun videos. I've actually allowed Ruby to use it because she likes watching YouTube videos and kids playing with their Barbies and stuff. Ruby's literally able to use this camera because she just needs to hit the record button and she could see herself on the screen. And there's really not much that you can break with this camera because the lens doesn't protrude and truly is just built in a way that it could take a little bit of a beating. And so that is the Canon V10. I actually made a full-on review video around this camera. I'll post a link to it down in the description below. And then the Sony ZV-1 Mark II is the most expensive out of the bunch, coming in at just under $900 at the time of shooting this video, but I've seen it go on sale used for about $720, which is a really good price for how good a video this camera shoots. But if I had to buy one camera and I couldn't buy the other two, the one I would go with is the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. Personally, I'm just used to using a camera like this to create content with. I like that you can use it as a webcam when I'm doing Zoom calls, and it is a good vlog camera. But when I think about capturing stuff with my daughter, doing dance recitals and things like that, I just love the camera for that use. But would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below, what you thought and which one you would get. Would love to know. And if you want to check out another video from us here at Think Media, just click or tap the screen. Can't wait to see you in a future video. Peace.